Hey guys, and welcome to another Schematics update. This time we want to talk about Planet Coaster again. More specifically about the 3D Gizmo of Planet Coaster. I know it was a topic before, but there are news about the 3D Gizmo that we think we need to talk, and I'm joined by Fog and Ruble Trillions. Hey guys.
You alright?
Hey, how's it going?
So, I think first of all we should start with what the hell is the 3D Gizmo for people who are maybe unaware of what it is.
The 3D Gizmo tool is a tool that you can use to move items and objects through a 3D plane in Planet Coaster. It's like a precise tool, if you would. It allows you to move on the Y, the Z, and the X axes. And there are two versions. There's one which is related axes for the objects. Maybe you've got one tilted at like 45 degrees already, and then you can slide it along that plane. And then you have the other one which people are having problems with. It's the world axes. These are always meant to be polar positions. So one directly vertical, one directly, would it be north and east?
Yeah, I think they're a little slightly different depending on each map, but it's aligned to whatever the maps, like you said, north, south, east, west is.
So yeah, they're kind of binded to the map that you're working on as a point of reference that maintains. People have been having problems with these, and there's been a little bit of a history of problems here.
So I never played the beta, but from everyone that did, everyone basically said that the advanced move tool worked perfectly fine.
Yep.
Not only on the global grid, but then also on the relative axis. So the relative, like you said, the relative axis being whatever, if you're working within a building, you've selected a group of objects, and all of those objects will then give you a point that you're moving the advanced move tool from. After release of the game, I think the relative axis sort of was broken. It was usable, it was still functional, but it was somewhat broken from the standpoint of if you selected too many objects or too many objects that were at really wonky, angles that it wouldn't properly work. It was still usable. If you had enough pieces that were aligned at least in a similar fashion, you could still, copy them and move them around on a grid that made sense. And then after the release of the Theme Makers Toolkit, that all went completely to hell. And then what you had happening was the relative axis was aligning to the global grid no matter what. It was the only thing you could use. So it makes it really difficult to do things like copying fences and moving them, along a grid or at least on a straight line, copying walls, windows, things like that, roof pieces. It just makes it really difficult to work in the game. And so after the Theme Makers Toolkit came out, they said they updated and fixed it for this last DLC release, which is amazing, by the way, but they didn't fix it, in my opinion. And I've come into a few issues. I posted a tweet on Twitter. Basically, what I've encountered is the relative axis, the way it used to work, is no matter what, the y-axis would align, essentially from, like, it would make sense, like
it would be like your polar position directly out.
Exactly, polar position. That's a much better way of saying it. So no matter what, the polar position would be correct. Now with the relative axis, it just goes completely wonky. So the pictures that we'll supply for you guys to look at, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And the problem with this is that when you're working with inside of a building, it makes it virtually impossible to use the relative axis in any way that makes sense.
I must say, just while we're looking at the pictures, wow.
Yeah.
It's a situation where this is a new level of, dare I say broken?
Yeah.
It's interesting that this is even possible.
Yeah.
It just removes a little bit of the functionality of what essentially is a precision moving tool.
I think there's probably a fair amount of people who play Planet Coaster where they just, download objects from the workshop and that's how they play. And so they probably aren't affected by this issue as much as people who are doing a lot of custom work. But, it really makes doing that custom work really difficult. At this point, it's as bad as I was creating like a fence, and it was the exact same fence piece in a line, but I had one of them turned vertically so that the bars were going up and down, like to make it look like a little gate. And when I copied it and tried to move it, it gave me that weird thing where all of a sudden the y-axis was like at a 45-degree angle, and you can't copy and paste it very easily. And that's just one example of how the issue is being affected. So
how it's gone wrong, yeah.
You're right.
So the thing is, the issue is very easily replicatable. I opened up the game before we started recording and placed down some non-grid based objects. In my case, it was the pole for signs, etc. And I placed down a couple of them, and as long as they are basically just duplicates of each other in the same direction, it's not an issue to use the advanced move tool, but as soon as you start rotating them, it's becoming an issue.
Yeah.
For example, if I have one pole at a 0-degree angle on the y-axis and one at, let's say, 90-degree angle, it tries to find a middle point. So the 3D Gizmo is aligned to 45 angle. You can kind of work with a 45 degrees angle, but if you have, for example, an object with 10 degrees angle and one with, let's say, 15 degrees angle, things become tricky.
Yeah.
And it's becoming an issue. And I think the easiest way to describe our problem here is, imagine you have a 3D modeling software and your most crucial and basic instruments doesn't work properly.
Yeah.
So that's an issue we have right now in the game.
It seems like it's trying to split the difference. And because you have so many objects with so many different, I know it's probably not the term, but it's like a 0 point, like almost an anchor point. There you go. You can get these crazy ones.
And I'm not even sure, I don't know if you guys know, is this something that they're, I mean, I've tagged them in like my posts and stuff. I have not reported it on the forums just because the forums are a whole nother topic. But last I heard, when they did the last DLC, I think they were under the impression that this was fixed. And it's not.
Which is kind of funny because, to be honest, the only fixed state of the 3D Gizmo, or the not broken state we encountered in the game, was till beta. From the point they implemented the 3D Gizmo in the game till launch. And I know personally that Frontier is aware of that issue, and I kind of wonder why they don't fix it. Because yes, we can work around, or we could work around till the recent updates and DLCs, but it was a pain in the ass before.
Yeah.
And now it's basically impossible to build anything on a more advanced level. Yeah, I'm really hoping that Frontier is looking into this issue as soon as possible and is fixing it finally, because I think personally a lot of people are on the edge of giving up the game because they can't build what they want to build, or with a lot of struggle.
Yeah, and I think we're at the point too in the stage of Planet Coaster where the folks who are just downloading blueprints and building parks that way are the minority. The people who are still playing the game are doing a lot of this custom work, and you know, to your point, I found myself at times where, you know, there's things I want to do in the game, but I haven't gotten in and done it because I know I'm going to be fighting this tool, and you know, as detailed as a lot of people get, that's already pretty time consuming, but when you're fighting the tools that are available to you, it makes it even worse.
So I think it's obviously that we kind of want Frontier to fix it. So Frontier, if you're listening, please fix. I will definitely tweet a strongly worded tweet with this video in your direction. So first of all, I want to thank Fog and Ruble for joining today. And thanks a lot to you guys out there watching this video. Let us know in the comment section if you already encountered the issue, or maybe it's even not an issue for you at all because you don't use the advanced move tool, or even better, you found a workaround solution. Let us know in the comment section. If you really enjoyed this video, you may want to consider doing the extra step over to Coffee to buy Ed, our editor, a cup of coffee, because he probably be the one who's fixing this issue for Frontier. And he will definitely need a lot of coffee, so please head over there and give him some money so he can buy some coffee. Anyway guys, thanks a lot for listening again. See ya next time. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.